Singles Championships. Going against the defending champion will be Tim Doyle, unseeded. Tim out of Williamsville, New York, the brother of Cindy Doyle that we saw in the women's competition. Columbus State ranked 24th by the AARA, unseeded in this tournament. And Tim Doyle, 20 years old, goes against #1 seed Andy Roberts, the defending champion from Memphis. Graduate of Memphis State this spring, gold medal in the Pan Am Games. Going to be a tough person to beat. He's going to be on the receiving end. There you see him. He won this championship last year after being runner-up for a couple of years. He finally got the big one.
Okay, let's play ball, fellas.
And we're just about set to resume action. Doyle serving.
Score,
9 serving 3.
That's a good shot.
Well,
it's going to be an appeal because the way the play looked.
Well, this time the up-top man is overruled.
A lot of times that the ball jumps up a little bit, and when the ball jumps up, that gives a very good clue that the ball has hit the floor just before the front wall. And from this perspective, it looked like it, so it was very natural for Andy to appeal it. He went to both linesmen. They both thought it skipped, so therefore it's side out. Andy serving 3, serving 9. That's about as perfect a ball as can be humanly hit, I think. That thing was rolling out of the front corner. He sets up on this. It's good time to set up. Has a great forehand. Pinches right wall, front wall. That ball was dead flat in front of Andy.
Serving 3.
9-3.
Line judges. I called the serve good. There's been an appeal. I called it good.
And they confirm all 3. There's our first unanimous agreement on the serve.
Shows that ball is down. Actually, what he appealed was the shot before that. Shows the serve. That's a good cross-court angle. Ball's hit very low. Takes its first bounce by the solid second line, 20 feet, and died in the backcourt.
10 serving 3 for Doyle.
Hold it, skip ball. Set up.
Side out. One thing, of course, we've seen more questions of calls in this match than we did with the women for a very simple reason. The velocity the ball is being hit makes it a real concentration test for the referee.
Here's a nice shot.
4 serving 10.
Here's a shot, good technique off the back wall, pinches it tight again.
Scores 4.
Leaves the ball in front of
10.
Tim. A nice, easy lob motion, high lob Z to the right. That's a good shot down the wall, but he started that rally off and he started to push that backhand down the left wall and made Tim move from side to side.
5 serving 10. First game.
See if he sticks with that high lob Z to the right corner. Trying to force Tim up to the ceiling. Miss.
6-10.
He's going for that shot, shooting that high lob Z. Andy's up just barely getting it, pushing it back into the middle. Now he has another shot that he pushes down the right. Good placement.
6.
Good placement.
10. Another shot. Okay, play hinder on it. Play hinder on it. He held his hand up already. Play hinder on it. He didn't take a shot carefully because you were right there.
Well, if you see that right there, Tim didn't really think that he had a shot, so he held up. and Andy thought he had a good shot. So, difference of opinion. He's going to play it again as a hinder.
Serving 10.
(7-10) as Roberts continues his comeback.
There's a shot. It's going to come off the back wall. Andy sets up with his forehand. Takes it back down the wall.
Score 7.
Ball had too much pace on Tim. Couldn't get back and get it. Staying with that high lob Z, generating either a ceiling ball return. Good shot. Really has changed the complexion here a little bit. He's scored 4 points with that serve. A couple times Tim has shot. A couple times he's gone to the ceiling with a weak ceiling ball for a setup for Andy.
Scored the last 5 points. He was down 3-10.
See what he does with this one. Back up to the ceiling. Another offensive shot. Beautiful.
Yeah. That is 6 points in a row.
Probably a timeout.
Timeout's been called by Tim Doyle.
And Doyle will call a timeout.
See that ceiling ball came in a little bit short. Andy's got good technique on that backhand. Really tight pinch. Well placed, well executed. Roberts is right back in at 9, serving 10.
Crowd on the hard bleachers using this as an opportunity to stand up for a while. Have a good number of folks crowded around the court. Of course, racquetball, we have seen an example of the visually impaired and wheelchair racquetball action. If you were with us a year ago, we showed you a short segment of that. Modify the rules slightly and everyone can
What
play.
happened in that case there was you were right in front of me, he turned and saw you, and then went like that. You did that.
Crowd trying to loosen up as we see some of the action.
Right back in there. Tim wanted to go down the right wall or possibly pinch right wall, front wall, and because he saw Andy there and he didn't want to hit him, he held up. But because the ball also skipped in, and Andy felt that he took the shot, he wanted to be awarded with the point. So, action is so close. There will always be differences of an opinion.
And it is close. It's 10-9. A lot at stake. The U.S. Championship.
Serving 10.
9 serving 10. Robert serving. Let's skip to the back wall, and we're even at 10-10. 7 consecutive points now have been scored.
We're back in at 0-0. We're going to play a short game to 5 here.
Yep.
See who wins this first game of the championship. He's going to have to come up and short hop something pretty soon. He's going to sit back and let Andy dictate the action. Shot off the back. Oh, skipped it in.
Side
Just
out.
a little too fine in the corner. Here's a back wall shot. He was going for it. But in this caliber of play, there's such a fine line between hitting a kill, hitting a little too low, having it skip in, and then hitting a fraction too high and having it left up back to the defender in the center court.
Skip that one, and it's 11-10.
Scores 11, serving 10.
That will definitely be appealed because Tim thought that ball got over the short line.
Lines it as I call the serve
It'll
short.
be interesting to see what the linesmen say. They both appeal.
All agree.
They all thought it was
serve,
short.
One appeal used.
Trouble is there, the server sees it from one
We
angle.
each have 2
The
appeals
server
left.
sees it from this angle, and he thinks the ball got over the line. The
Play ball,
linesman
second
and the ref see it
serve.
at a different angle, and it appears to be short to them.
You may have heard in the background Otto Dietrich mentioning appeals left. And you can quickly explain that rule regarding appeals.
Oh, Andy hit it again. He had a couple shots on that backhand.
All right, it's 13-10. If they are not
13.
overruled, in other words, if the referee is not overruled, then the players actually lose one of their 3 mandatory appeals. There's the replay.
Andy wants that ball right there. It was on his racket. All he had to do is punch it back in that front left corner. Thirteen 13-10 right now. He went for it. He stepped over, used a good crossover step, used his shoulders, and just aimed that thing a little too low into the front wall.
Well, it's not yet. Let's see.
I called it good. The serve goes over again as a hinder.
All right. Try it again.
The first serve.
That ball is traveling so fast that I'm not sure anybody has a good angle at that.
Doyle serving.
That's why you're going to see so many differences. Everybody's seeing it at a slightly different angle.
13-10. Short.
Second serve.
Can't get to it. Side out.
That cross-court pass had so much pace on it, it virtually left Tim standing right in his tracks.
You get it.
It came off the back wall. You notice his swing. Watch his tremendous swing. And the ball came off the back wall, but it went so fast that Tim could not get back around it and take it. There it is again. Tim's going for it, and he would have swung and tried to retrieve it, but there's too much pace on the ball.
10 serving 13. First
Be
game.
interesting to see if Andy sticks with the high lob Z, which has got him back into the game. See if he can get a ceiling ball return or maybe a possible left-up shot. Ball came off the glass funny. But that was the first time, if you're watching how Tim was receiving that high lob Z, that's the first time that he actually stepped up and started to short hop it, overhead drive it to create some action. He may not let Andy just sit back, and that time is good serve. Going to the ceiling, shot off the back wall.
Side out.
Flat rollout. Good swing by Roberts. That thing's coming off the back wall, and Tim kind of adapts his swing and gets good velocity and flat rolls it out. He'd sure like to close this with a couple points and get that first game under his belt.
Side out still. Same score. 10 serving 13.
Good pressure shot by Roberts. The ball came off the back wall. He stayed right with it. Drove the ball down that left wall for a side out. 10-13. Oh. Well, the aggressive overhead drive worked to his favor there because it hit a left wall crack.
13 serving 10.
13 serving 10. First game.
Timeout's been called by Tim Doyle.
And
Good
Doyle
strategy
wants
by
to
Tim. He sits and hit a strong lead, and Andy came back, and now he jumped out again, and probably takes a few seconds to think this out and see if he can figure out the way he wants to score these last 2 points.
Again, looking back at the last play.
He's changed his strategy here and has come up with an overhead drive, and happens that this one is not really what you plan. You just want to push Andy to the backcourt with an overhead drive, and this time it hit the side wall for 2 bounces, and actually it was an overhead winner.
A lot of people playing racquetball at least once a month. 10 million players. Of course, we're seeing the best of the amateurs in the United States. The men's division, Tim Doyle and Andy Roberts.
It sure helps, too, to have a chance to get some of these important matches telecast so that the people at home can watch some of the good technique and the good strategies so they can emulate some of these same things that the top players are doing.
And, of course, competition for membership on the women's and the men's team. Andy Roberts already a member. Michelle Gilman we saw in the women's championship was already a member coming into play here, so there's some of those positions up for grabs.
One thing from a strategic point here, Andy skipped in 6 balls that have resulted in points for Tim. So, seeing he's got 13, he's just about skipped in half the points for him here.
Score is 13.
Which is the thing that you don't want to do, but also you have to stay very low in that low zone area to try to put the ball away. So it's a fine line between hitting a winner and hitting a skip shot. It's a great serve. Ball slid down the right wall. Andy kind of thought it was coming off the back. It took 2 bounces back in there, and he's at game point. Game number 1.
14, 10.
Ball jumped up. He skipped it in.
And that's it. So the first game goes to Tim Doyle by a score of 15-10. The 20-year-old from the Buffalo area, a winner over the number 1 seeded Andy Roberts. And we'll be back with game number 2 from the Houston Downtown YMCA in just a moment.
Aces, and Andy got 1. And also it shows that on skips, Andy skipped in 7 balls that resulted in Tim getting points, whereas Tim had only skipped in 2. So actually, when you add this thing up, you got 13 points with his aces and Andy's skips. 13 of his points were on aces or Andy skips, and 3 were on Roberts. Gained 3 points from his aces or Doyle's skips. So there's a discrepancy in there of 10 points.
Yeah, that really opened the door.
Which, seeing you're only playing to 15, that's pretty much the writing's on the wall right there.
That's a major problem.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though,
it's hard. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, on the other hand, though, it leads one to believe that though it may have been a defeat in the first game for Andy, he very easily could come back and even dominate the second, because he was doing a lot of that to himself.
Yeah, the thing it is about it is that the ace serves are a matter of hitting an inch or 2 up on the wall. And that, Tim in this game might lose that range, and Andy might find it. And again, if, Andy knows he shouldn't be skipping the ball probably at that frequency, but he's going for low shots also. He can move that ball up a few inches and eliminate. So this could be changed around pretty quick, but it's a pretty interesting scenario for game 1.
Sure is. The underdog, really, Tim Doyle, winning over Andy Roberts. Roberts, a defending champion. He's been in this final, what is it, 4 years in a row, I guess?
He's a regular in the finals.
Yeah, 2 years runner-up, last year champion. And now he's trying to defend that championship. So he's familiar with this court. Andy Roberts will serve.
Score is 0, serving 0.
Nice shot.
And it's a point. Roberts, 1-0.
Tim will probably stick with his strategy. Here's Andy, driving the ball up and down that left wall. Downline shots are great shots because they spread your opponent to the side and keep them on the move. Good rally there, but it was halted just because Tim couldn't quite get enough view of Andy's shot coming off the front wall.
1, serving 0. Shut out.
In addition to the championship, the semifinalists in both the men and women's open divisions all qualified for berths on the U.S. national team. In some cases, that was just a renewal of a position they already had, but not for Tim. Tim Doyle and his sister Cindy both making it for the first time.
It's a good shot right there. Ball does come off the back wall, though. Tim sets up, has a nice technique right there. Andy just flat rolls that ball. Good center court re-kill with his backhand. Shows it again.
Was huffing and puffing on the court, trying to get him psyched up. Couldn't handle it. Coming back at his leg, so it's side out.
Anytime that ball comes, let's see what Tim's got a good shot with a good forehand. Anytime the ball goes back into that corner, you're not sure how it's going to react out of that corner, and that time he happened to just not so much misjudge it, but just hit a spot that was kind of unpredictable and jumped out on.
Next major racquetball activity for the U.S. national team will be to participate in the Olympic Festival in Oklahoma City in July of '89.
Well wide.
1-1.
Good backhand. See how he catches that side wall? If you notice, it turns into a splat shot, which dies in the front.
Skipped it off the back wall. It is, make it 3-1. Check that score. It was 2-1. Now it's 3-1. Second serve.
Tim is so strong that he has the ability to just stand and pound for about as long as this game is going to happen. He'll come up and aggressively overhead. There. What they'd like to do with that shot is that they'd like to push their opponent a little further back into that back left corner. That one happened to catch and leave really Tim in the center of the court, and he's going to have a nice center court shot right there that he re-kills in the front.
Scores 4-1.
Well, there'll be an appeal because Tim thought that ball bounced twice in the back left corner, and Andy thinks that he got it, and it did kind of roll along the front wall. Yeah. Good low drive serve lands right in that area. It comes off. Andy's shot was upheld, and it is a side out. 1 serving 4.
Side out. 4-1, and again it was Doyle winning the first game 15-10.
Craig, that ball's being hit so hard.
I'm going to go with the line judges again. A foot fault was the question.
Call stands. Point.
He's appealing a foot fault. It looked like he was right on the line, and you can serve with having your feet on the lines, but you can't go over the lines. And you'll see Tim backed right up against the short line here.
Okay, there's a new ball.
They just knocked the air out of the old one. And that can happen easily. These are very good balls, but as hard as they're hitting them, they finally
He
get
swings
away.
around. Oh, look like it broke right on that shot right there.
Trying to get the ball broken in just a little bit here. Whapping
I hit it a
against
few
the wall.
times just to make sure they feel good with the pace of the ball, so it's not too slow, not too fast. And he's going to have to reach inside right now because he's not really on his range. He's a little bit off his serves. He's generating some good action on. There's a replay right there. Good re-kill in that part. He put everything into it. Brought it right back down the left wall.
Gonna have to score.
Probably change his serve a little bit, going to something low and hard.
He's gonna have to start scoring some points. He has to win this game. And he gets the first point. It is 2-5. Remember, he had a 7 straight point rally about this point. Actually, he was down 10-3, and he tied it up at 10. But then lost 15-10.
Here's a nice shot. How he actually got the lead in the first game was kind of coming with that high lob Z serve where he changed the momentum. And Tim changed. It's a good shot off the back wall. Pinches it tight. Left wall, front wall, right there. Ball bounces twice in front of Tim. Now he's going to go back and change to his hard serves, trying to generate some weak returns.
3-5.
great, and he has. Tim put a hand up because he couldn't see the ball, but the decision was going to be that the ball was down the line before he could move over to get it. Even if he didn't see the ball as well as he would have liked to, that ball was well placed down the right wall and not reachable.
4-5.
But it did look pretty reachable there. He had his racket on it, but it was a nice shot up and down the right wall.
And we're even. 5-5.
Probably one of the best kill shots that a person could ever hit. Right
Doyle
there.
wants a timeout because of it. Well, now remember last game, they came back and tied it up. Roberts did, and then lost serve.
What is he? He hits back on this one. He sets up deep, goes for it, flat rolls it out.
And it's 5-5. There's
Show it
another
again.
shot of it.
Tim's watching. He's deep court, back 37, 38 feet off the front wall, and still flattens that ball right into the front wall. Good change of strategy by Andy, though, because he went to a low drive serve, hard serves, and he's popped back in and came back from 5-1, back up to 5-5. He's in the service box all ready to go.
There's another reason why taking up racquetball wouldn't hurt.
It's a good workout because there's so little time between points. The ball's so close to you, small confined room. Get a lot of good action within the 60 minutes. You know, as we were watching, Tim was getting a lot of points on ace serves.
Serving 5.
But obviously that can also be reversed by Andy serving hard serves to Tim, and he's finding it's hard. See, all the returns that Tim has hit in the last 5 rallies have been well hit, but it's slightly misdirected, which have turned into an offensive shot. Good power on that shot. He's getting it. He gets it, but he sets up Andy off the back wall. He has to go up in the air to make sure he's not an avoidable hinder. Here's another replay of that, and the ball gets by him down the left wall. Andy's regained the lead 6-5.
That is the first time I think he's led since perhaps very, very early in the first game. As he, of course, fell behind as much as 10-3, came back and tied it, then lost 15-10, and this is the first time since perhaps on the first point of this one. I'm not even sure if he had one there, but in any event, now he's on top, and he has to win it, remember, because he lost that first game. That hit the window, didn't it? No.
Skip that thing in.
Side out, they counted.
It looks like both of them right now are, that ball skipped in. And he went for it, just hit it a little bit too low. Looks like they're both gonna buckle up here and just go straight at each other with full power.
Side out.
The hardest thing for both these players to do is to get into the rally. I mean, the serve is coming so hard. Once they're in the rally, they feel very comfortable. The hardest thing is getting over to these low drive serves that are hit at such a tremendous pace.
He doesn't get a hinder on that. Of course, his momentum.
He was moving
wasn't
to the right.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to get, he couldn't have gotten back. He couldn't have
See,
changed
back
his
in there,
momentum.
he went way over to the right, thinking it might go down the right wall. Ball was actually hit pretty much down the middle. It's a tough call.
Serving 5.
7-5. There's an ace.
And he's serving very well. His accuracy of getting it to land in that area right behind the short line, a lot of times in front of the dotted line, and then it skids into the corner, kind of freaked out back in that corner and left him with an unreturnable shot. It's a tough shot. that too. Really has changed the momentum around here. He's run how many points? 8 points in a row?
Yeah, he's now up line 5, speaking of Roberts.
Well, a lot of pace on that ball. Tim's trying to get back at it, but that thing was hit so hard.
9, serving 5.
Tim's going to appeal the serve. He thought it was short.
Lyndon, as I said, the serve was good. There's been an appeal. I called it good. Ball stands.
One
2 out of
linesman
3.
thought it was. One linesman thought it was good. One linesman thought it was short.
Then we still have 2 appeals remaining.
So the play goes as a point. There Andy sets up, tight pinch in that corner. It's a little bit overspin on that ball to keep that ball down. Great shot.
10-5, but side out. Man, he's going to take a timeout. Doyle takes a timeout. He needs one to regroup. He trails now by 5. Here's the last play that we had before the timeout.
Well, Andy wanted to keep that serve. It's hard to see what Andy wanted to keep the serve off the side wall. It just nudged the side wall, giving Tim an open lane down the right, and he took it, made it, and come back in serving.
There will be, if in fact Roberts can come back and score 5 more before Doyle catches him, there would be an 11-point tiebreaker for the championship. We had that with the women. If you weren't with us earlier, the women's championship was won by Michelle Gilman over Cindy Doyle. Racquetball is hoping to become a full-fledged Olympic sport sometime in the 90s. Certainly enough nations play it, as we saw earlier, 64. Or it can be found in that many countries. National team, as we mentioned, there are 4 ways to qualify, and 4 of the men's team and 4 women's team positions come from this tournament. The semifinalists are all on. Now, there are some repeaters, but Tim Doyle, for instance, is a new member, will be, and he is new. Andy Roberts repeats. Cindy Doyle joins the women's team. She's new. Another protest on the call.
Would be an appeal there because Andy thought the ball caught the back wall, so it would be a long. And here's a replay of it, which is going to be kind of hard to see. And
Played over again.
it's going to be a play over. One of the linesmen did not see it. Another disagreed with the referee, so it'll be a play over.
The umpire will give a flat palm down if he didn't see it, or the official will. Thumb up or thumb down, regardless of, depending on whether or not he agreed with the original call.
Toughest thing is the return of these low drive serves. The pace is so great that it cuts down your reaction time to just about nothing.
6 serving 10. Side out.
Good serve, just jumps off the wall. Andy stays with it. Keeps it in the low zone, dies in front of Tim. Roberts back in, ready to crank another one. So if he comes with that high lob Z, and we'll see if Tim comes up and overhead drives it.
That he did.
Hold it. Stop.
Got a replay.
Score is 10, serving 6.
With a replay, he comes back in with 2 serves, so he'll be cranking it again. Good return.
Said there's been no football. There's no football. There's been an appeal. So there was no football.
They was asking for a football.
Side out, and that's an appeal.
That's when you go to your full bag of tricks. When you've served a serve that they kill, you go back and appeal that you possibly
Score is
football.
6, serving 10.
And the linesman upheld the referee's decision and be side out.
But you run out of appeals if you're not judicious, though.
Second
If you're
serve.
creative, you find ways to appeal different shots.
Yeah, Roberts kept Doyle moving.
He jumps up. A lot of times if you get caught in a situation where you're directly in front of your opponent and you're going to block their offensive shot, it's better to go up. Or if you have time to move off to the side.
Serving 6.
Here you see him going up right there. He's out of the way, so it's not a hinder. Not an avoidable hinder, point hinder.
There was a powerful
One of
overhead.
the most amazing shots.
Side out. We are still at 6 serving
Hit.
10.
Overhead drive, flat rollout kill. Probably at about 130 miles an hour.
Score 6, serving 10.
Here's a tight pinch in the corner.
7-10.
So difficult on the return of these low drive serves to get anything on it with direction that doesn't result in an obvious setup for the server.
Eight, 10.
Boy, they are turning up the heat here. That thing is hit so hard. And he flips it up, but it comes off the back. So winner off the front wall.
Second serve.
Skipped it. Side out.
There's a shot for him right here. He goes for it. He pulls it down from the shoulder. He just angles the ball a little bit too low, and it skips into the front wall.
Serving 8.
And it is now 11-8.
Where they get caught there is that they go over with the crossover step. They try to get their shoulders, and they just don't have enough time to get their racket back and coil their shoulders back into the shot.
Couldn't back up with the momentum, and it's 12-8.
When he tried to get back, he tried to duck to make sure he wasn't in the way, and that ball went right over the top of him. There was a good get right there, and he's coming back in, and Andy shot, and it goes right over his head, kind of back around him. And here's another angle from right there. He goes for the shot, pinches it. Tim gets up, gets it, pops it to the ceiling, goes with an overhead drive right over his head for a winner before the back wall. Some aggressive play right there. Well executed shot by Andy Roberts. Momentum continues. We got a tiebreaker.
And there's a foot fault.
Andy feels it's just a little out of sequence. He would have liked that foot fault about 4 rallies ago when his
Well, he's been the
when
one
he
who-
needed it.
Well, he'd been appealing all of them, and then he's the guy with foot faults. Second serve.
Comes up again. Aggressive action. There's a shot for him.
Side out.
Here's a shot. Andy backs up, hits an offensive shot with his backhand going back, but leaves it up, and Tim re-kills front right corner. Nice pinch. Nice angle.
Side out.
Overhead, comes right back into the center court. Andy's really ready for it. Tim's a little bit caught behind him on his right hip. Can't quite see it.
Serving 8.
Ball dives before hits the back wall.
Well, 13-8 now. More wet spots on the court.
Boy, it's a great shot. Right down the right wall. Pretty close to Tim's racket, too, but the pace just didn't allow him to get